The sun hung low, casting an amber hue over the rippling waters as I stood alongside my uncle, a weathered man with creases etched like maps on his face, the kind only years of sun and salt could draw. His name was Jack, a grizzled veteran of the sea and a master angler whose stories were as vast as the ocean itself. With a weathered hand, he handed me a rusted tackle box and a rod, the weight of years gone by evident in every scratch and chip. We set out in his old boat, its hull creaking in harmony with the waves, and the scent of brine filled the air. As we anchored at a secluded spot, Jack regaled me with tales of monstrous catches and the ones that got away, weaving a tapestry of thrill and danger in his words. Hours slipped by as we cast our lines, the anticipation rising with each tug and ripple. The sun dipped further, painting the sky in shades of fiery red, but the air grew colder, a chill creeping in that had nothing to do with the fading light. I glanced at Jack, his eyes fixed on the waters, a hint of unease flickering in their depths. His stories, once a source of fascination, now carried an eerie weight, as if they were warnings disguised in adventurous yarns. The waters grew still, the usual symphony of ocean life silenced to a haunting lull. Then it came, a tug so forceful it nearly wrenched the rod from my grasp. My heart raced as I battled with unseen might, muscles straining against the unknown force below. Jack's face twisted into a mask of concern, his weathered brow furrowed deeply. With a final heave, I reeled in the line, and as the waters parted, a grotesque sight emerged. A fish unlike any I'd seen, its scales shimmering like polished obsidian, but its eyes were empty voids that seemed to swallow the very light around us. Fear gripped me, a primal instinct urging me to release the creature back into the depths. But Jack's voice cut through the panic, low and urgent. He warned of ancient tales, of cursed waters and creatures that shouldn't be disturbed. Ignoring his plea, I hesitated, the fish thrashing in my hands, its unearthly gaze piercing through me. In that moment, the boat rocked violently, a sudden tempest brewing out of nowhere, waves crashing against us with unnatural fury. With a jolt, the fish slipped from my grasp and vanished into the roiling waters. As swiftly as it began, the storm abated, leaving us gasping for air in its wake. Jack's eyes held a sorrowful wisdom, a regret etched deep within, and he spoke of a past where curiosity led to irreversible consequences, a tale now mirrored in my own folly. The waters regained their calm, but a palpable tension lingered, a reminder of forces beyond comprehension. We returned to shore in solemn silence, the weight of the untold haunting our thoughts. Jack's stories, once filled with adventure, now bore a cautionary edge, a reminder of the thin veil between curiosity and peril in the realm of the unknown. And as I looked back at the receding waters, a shiver ran down my spine, knowing that some mysteries were best left undisturbed in the depths of the unknown seas. The sun lingered above the Idaho horizon, casting a golden sheen on the tranquil lake where George and I stood, our lines dancing on the water's surface. George was my childhood companion, a rugged soul with an unyielding love for the outdoors. He had a knack for finding the perfect fishing spots, each one seemingly more secluded and serene than the last. His easy grin and contagious enthusiasm were infectious, drawing me into the thrill of each expedition. Today, however, the usual cheer in his hazel eyes seemed muted, replaced by a subtle unease that hung in the air like an unseen mist. As we settled into our routine, the waters remained eerily still, devoid of the usual signs of life that painted these excursions with vibrant energy. Hours passed and the sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows across the glassy surface. George's usual banter had waned, replaced by a silence punctuated only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the gentle lapping of the water against our boat. It was a silence that grew heavy, laden with an unspoken tension that I couldn't quite place. Casting furtive glances at George, I noticed a furrow in his brow, a furrow that betrayed an unspoken concern. Then it happened, a sudden violent tug on my line that nearly sent me sprawling into the water. I grappled with the rod, muscles straining against the unseen force below. George's expression shifted from concern to outright alarm as he rushed to assist me, his movements swift and urgent. With a final exertion of strength, I reeled in the line, and as the murky depths surrendered their secret, a chill seeped into my bones. What surfaced wasn't the gleaming prize we had hoped for. Instead, it was a grotesque sight. A fish of monstrous proportions, its scales a glistening armor, but its eyes were vacant voids that seemed to swallow the very light around us. A surge of primal fear coursed through me, and I instinctively recoiled, but George's voice, tight with a mixture of dread and determination, urged caution. He spoke in hushed tones, warning of ancient legends whispered among the locals, of cursed waters and the guardians that dwelled within. Ignoring his plea, my curiosity overwhelmed rationality, and I hesitated, the grotesque creature thrashing in my hands. In that moment, the world around us seemed to warp and distort, a sensation as if reality itself had been momentarily rent asunder. Suddenly, the boat lurched violently, a tempest erupting from nowhere, sending waves crashing against us with unnatural fury. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy, and fear clutched at my heart as I realized the gravity of our trespass into unknown waters. With a desperate heave, I released the creature back into the depths, and as swiftly as it had begun, the storm subsided, leaving us breathless and bewildered. We returned to shore in stunned silence, the weight of the unspoken hanging between us. George's eyes bore a haunted look, a regret etched deep within, mirroring the inexplicable events that had unfolded. And as we parted ways that evening, a somber understanding passed between us, that some mysteries were best left undisturbed in the tranquil depths of Idaho's secluded lakes. The quiet solitude of the lakeside greeted me as I ventured out alone, a lone silhouette against the backdrop of the setting sun. Fishing had always been my solace, a respite from the cacophony of everyday life. Today, however, the air seemed heavier, pregnant with a silence that stretched beyond tranquility into an unsettling realm. The lake, usually teeming with life, lay eerily still, a mirror reflecting the fading hues of twilight. As I cast my line, memories flooded in, the comforting laughter of friends, the gentle camaraderie of shared stories. Yet tonight there was only the sound of my own breathing, an uneasy rhythm that echoed in the emptiness. Hours passed with no more than a gentle tug here and there, the anticipation dwindling with the waning light. The tranquility of the evening began to gnaw at me, an inexplicable unease clawing at the edges of my consciousness. As the last vestiges of sunlight vanished, a chill seeped into the air, searing through layers of clothing and skin alike. The waters, once inviting, now seemed to hold secrets, their depths a fathomless abyss that whispered ancient tales of caution. Then it came, a sudden violent pull on my line that jolted me from my reverie. I grappled with the rod, muscles straining against the unseen force below. The struggle intensified, an unseen adversary locked in a silent battle beneath the surface. With a final surge of determination, I reeled in the line, and what emerged sent a shiver down my spine. It wasn't the anticipated trophy fish. Instead, it was a grotesque creature, a fish of unnatural proportions, its scales shimmering in the dim moonlight, but its eyes, hollow voids that seemed to peer into the depths of my soul. Fear clawed at my chest, an instinctual urge to release the abomination back into the depths, but curiosity held me captive. In that moment, the world around me seemed to distort, reality wavering like a mirage. The air crackled with an inexplicable energy, and a sense of foreboding hung thick in the night. Yet, before I could heed the warning signs, the boat lurched violently, as if seized by an otherworldly force. Waves crashed against me with ferocity. The boat rocked perilously, threatening to tip and plunge me into the murky depths below. With a surge of fear and determination, I released the creature, watching it vanish into the depths. As swiftly as the chaos had begun, it subsided, leaving me gasping for breath and clutching the sides of the now calm boat. Trembling, I navigated back to shore, the weight of the inexplicable encounter heavy on my shoulders. As I retreated from the lake's edge, a haunting realization settled within me. that some mysteries were never meant to be unearthed, and that venturing into the depths alone may invite more than just a catch of the day.